Hi there, Steve again here with yet another thought on Christmas. I want to address while I'm sat here in my front room on my sofa with Rocco the dog next to me, picture coming up now, and we're just chilling, we're just relaxing here in a place of welcome. Our front room is a place where we really enjoy to honour guests. We love hospitality in our home. Larissa and I love to talk, especially around a plate of food in our kitchen next door, and that's our joy. It's even more so in Middle Eastern culture. Even today, if you went to a Middle Eastern house, you would, as I understand it, the tradition is you are kind of obliged to offer hospitality to any guest that comes to your house. And it's only on the third day of being in your home that there is culturally a right to ask you why you've come. What are you doing here on the third day? So you host them. You bring any guest that needs accommodation, needs food. It's the tradition in the Middle East to feed. And so it makes it all the more strange that in the nativity story, we're back to the nativities, which, as I've said, have a habit of having inconsistent and actually untrue things within them. And they have become almost insidious. It's part of what we believe to be Christmas because of the way that we've held it. And some basically poor biblical teaching along the way as well. And there's this thing about Mary and Joseph trying to find accommodation, and this sense of knocking on the door and there being no room at the inn. Now, the word inn, as in a place of hospitality that you'd go to in a hotel, is only mentioned once in the whole of the New Testament. And it's in the context of the story of the Good Samaritan, where the Good Samaritan, after the others have gone past and ignored the man in need, the Samaritan, the one who, in theory, should be the one that does pass him by, but he's the one who has compassion. He helps the man onto his ride, his ass, and then takes him to, and then there's the word, an inn, where he pays the innkeeper for his keep and then promises to pay any extra should that be needed. That's the only time where we see this word in the narrative of the Nativity in the Bible. The word is actually guest room. So Mary and Joseph, who are part of the Davidic line, go to their family who culturally, and as I said, even up to today, but certainly in those days, you don't turn away family. You don't turn away anybody who's a guest that actually invites themselves in. If they said, "Can I stay?" you would say yes to the first person who arrived. So Mary and Joseph go to family and say, "Can we stay?" And they say, "No, you can't go in the guest room because the guest room is already occupied." And the way that it usually worked, if you could afford it in those days, the guest room would be up a set of stairs on the side of the house and be built on the top. That's where most people would have a guest room, or possibly at the side at the back. So there's a sense in which other family members have actually got there before Mary and Joseph have, and therefore they have got the space. So where do Mary and Joseph go? Do they go around the back into a stable or a cave? Actually, there's a problem with that. The problem is where the manger is in the house. The way the houses were built in those days in Bethlehem, there was typically a single level, probably a dirt floor, where the family lived. And it's not unlike some of the African places that I go to these days, where they would have a fire in the center, and they would do all their cooking, their living, their sleeping in this communal space in their house, in their room. And then there was a drop that went down probably about a meter at the end of the room, with a separate door out of the back where the animals stayed at night. The sheep, the cattle, and a donkey, an ass, if you have one, would be kept there. And there would be a scoop in the floor at head height for the animals. A metre or so down where they were standing, they would be able to bend over, and they would put the animal feed, the hay, the straw, whatever, into this place, which was called the manger. So actually, if Jesus was wrapped in swaddling clothes and placed in a manger, then, oh, hello dog, he's come to welcome you. If Jesus was placed in the manger, he was placed in the scalloped part of the floor in the main living room. So the story of somehow that Mary and Joseph were rejected and were not welcome isn't true. Actually, what is true is that the family said, we haven't got a spare room, but we welcome you into our personal space, into our lounge, like we're here, with the dogs, with the with the animals that they had at that time. And we will look after you, Mary. You can be in the heart of the household, because that's what Eastern hospitality does. If we know anything about the culture of the day, we should have realized that this concept that somehow we would push the King of Kings out the back house in a stable / cave was not truly culturally appropriate. And I don't know quite how it's evolved to become something like it is, but it's not actually biblically accurate. And so there's one thing to consider. Yes, he had incredible humble beginnings. He had times when he was rejected, and yes, he was an illegitimate child in the view of some, and yes, he was rejected by men, and yes, they did have to run away to Egypt, not only to fulfill scripture, but to avoid being killed. And yes, there were lots and lots of difficulties, but the King of Kings, Jesus, never had his family reject him. No, they actually said, come to the heart of our home, come to our living room, and you have your child here. We will look after you. We will place him here within the heart of the family. We will share our space with you. And there is where the Lord began. And there is the likely place that shepherds arrived and others came sometime later. And we'll talk about why there was such a delay in time another time. I hope that makes sense to you. And I hope you realize that in the way that we welcome people, there should not be a, no, you're not welcome here, have our reject place. No, when people have a need, we say, come in and welcome into the heart of our home. You're welcome here. You actually have relevance here. You have purpose here. And we want you to be part of our family. May that be something that we really hook into this Christmas. Thanks for listening.